Espíritu de Dios, llena mi vida, llena mi alma con tu poder. Espíritu de Dios,
but to come to emptiness. Beyond the projections about emptiness, or the mental, presentation of emptiness, but just come to that, to leave everything alone, to leave all efforts, just to see, not to turn effortlessness into another religion, but just to really continuing abandoning everything for yourself, not to just undressing of everything. And how quickly you come to that which cannot be compared, to the incomparable state.
What about envy, MooJi? What about envy?
Envy.
Yeah, I think much of the evilness in the world comes from envy. Like, everybody wants to be divine, but people's limited beliefs makes them very small in their own experience. And when they see some divine in other people, they want to destroy it because they don't think they can have it themselves.
Yes.
And it seems that much evilness comes from that.
And?
Much evilness seems to come from
Of course it must do. But until real understanding and experience comes inside the heart, you cannot simply expect that by raising these points that it is enough to create change in people. I don't think you get rid of something like envy, like for instance through teaching. It can happen, because I know that some of the early teachings and training and so on, just as a child growing up, certain conditioning that came, I've been very good, very grateful for them. They teach you to be respectful to elder people. They don't say respectful to everybody. It wasn't taught like that, but to your elders, and if somebody needs a seat and you're on a bus, you're quite young, you should offer the seat and so. Little things like that have gone a very long way, just to broaden your awareness about beyond your self-servicing tendency, that you include a larger field of sharing. It's very beautiful.
I have a big problem these days with my brother, and I feel I should ask you about that. I'm very often quite happy, and I have nothing. My brother has a lot, and he is very often unhappy. And I feel that he is envious of me. And I would like to do something for him, and I don't know what to do. Maybe I shouldn't try, because whenever I try,
what for instance would make him, of you, that in your perceiving, come to that kind of conclusion that perhaps he's just envious? Why would he be? What makes you think like that? No?
I have a son, 18 years old. We live together, and my son is doing very well, and we are very happy together. They have a very wonderful relationship. He has a teenage son who lives in Sweden, who doesn't trust him, and who doesn't want to be with him, for instance. It's like...
Yeah. There's nothing you can do for him. Except just be true in the moment. Don't plan any goodness. Just, move in your own way, being aware of that, and perhaps encourage a kind of view towards that in yourself, a view of understanding, And sometimes it just feels like this. Very human feelings. Very human feelings. At some level, that there's this type of resentment. I think it's probably more of a kind of Western thing than it is in many cultures. In many cultures. We are so psychologically uptight that little things bring us into kind of discord. But the discord is there because there's so much self in our life. Our life is so much impregnated with selfhood, personhood. And easily it exposes the cracks very easily, in the form of jealousy or resentment or these things that you mentioned, Whereas in many cultures which have a base of more tolerance and more sharing, natural sharing and so on, that you would imagine that they would be the ones who experience greater hardship, show that they're very resilient and very flexible in what would be hardship for you. I see this. For instance, we just sent this book. This book just came here, for instance, as an example. It is a tribute to Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. I'm skipping through the book and I'm reading that Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj was, had many devotees who saw him, that sometimes he would be such of a contrast to what you'd expect a sage to be like. He smoked tobacco, he had a very sharp temper, would go into a rage, and he's so angry that his veins would be standing out in his neck and stuff like this, and we send people out and shout at them and just and yet his devotees were totally loyal to him. Now you put that in a Western context, and we have so much ideas of how things should be. We're so proud of our culture and how just how wide our knowledge is. But in actual terms, there's so much more suspicion, mistrust, looking, judgments. We are so full of that type of noise. And the more it comes into meeting people who are really real, who are not living a pretentious existence or something, the more some people feel intimidated by that. That some beings that really don't want that. They don't want to meet someone like that because it makes them so deeply uncomfortable. And if you ask them, well, why are you uncomfortable? They'll make up some other kind of nonsense, and it's got nothing to do with the truth. Like it seems clearly that there are some beings who really don't like truth, but they will speak as though they do, and they're defending something. You see, I think that's more to do a little bit with a very mental society, a very psychologically based society, who hasn't developed inwardly the broadness of being that can be genuinely happy to see someone advancing in their work or so on. But I don't want to limit it to Western mind, because I think it's quite widespread now. If it comes back down to the place about selfhood, personhood, because that serpent has bitten every being. If you have the feeling that you are this me, this is my life. Don't tell me how to live my life. I'm free. I don't think we can just select that and say that's a Western thing. There might be Western slant to it, but it's a universal thing. When consciousness, when we give too much energy to our conditioned existence, this is the fruit it makes. Very often. Like how would you say, how would I'd love to help my brother. How would you? You can't. Leave him to life. You can just wish him well and have a heart inside that says, It's very important to come to know sometimes when you can't help something, and to accept it actually, that this is not your moment, and let us not feel guilty about it, because it is a wisdom to know that you're not responsible for that life. I don't say that, that should make you feel so great about that, because I feel in any conscious being there's a larger sense of responsibility to hold love, or to set love free, whichever way you want to put it, to have an attitude of love towards all beings. It doesn't have to be affectionate love, not kiss kiss, hug hug, but a love that can see through this, and a love that is accompanied by wisdom, in the sense that that life, in its way, it is authentic, even though it's struggling at the moment. There's a whole network of subtleties, of psychological, emotional projections, and all kinds of things are in that as well. And perhaps not. It can be just, we cannot limit consciousness or, bring Freud to it. You can somehow just see that, it's just life. In any way you want to look at it, it is playing like this. But what is very important is that we don't bring this naivety of just thinking that I can just love you through your problems or something, or through loving you it's going to get you out of your problems. But it comes back to you again, just what can you do? Well, you can just continue, deepening inside your own self. It can sound selfish, but it's actually quite unselfish in a way.
This is quite rough, because I just so desperate about what's happening with his son, that he seems to be losing his girlfriend, and like everything is falling apart. And I know that if that happens, he would be suicidal, and I fear for him. And maybe you're right. Nothing I can do. I can just step back and let his life play. But it's still, when I have this feeling, it's like I feel it's a moment to do something, if ever. But I don't know if I can do.
Well, you can sit down and keep quiet and find out what could you do. Look at the options. What could you do? And you can actually go quite far in that, in your projection. Say, okay, fine. Okay, the only thing I can do is to, I'll write my brother this beautiful letter of love, and to say, look, I know that we never always see things like this, but throughout all of this, I've always loved you, and I've admired the way you've done this, and this. I know that sometimes we struggle on this, but that's just life. We all struggle on something. And it saddens me to see that at the moment, there seems to be this difficulty. But I want to encourage you that a moment is not a prophecy. And, I wish you all the best. I'm here for you, whatever that might mean for you. But genuinely, I'm here for you. I can't say, my life is not better than yours. It's just different, and I love you. That can be something, because whatever might be going on there, and maybe in the instant there may be some reactions like, how dare you write me a letter like this, because I still see that you're trying to put one over on me. You understand? Because people can be like this, your higher than thou letter to me, and all of this, because sometimes you get this. You cannot stop anybody misinterpreting your intention, but it will not have been a wrong move on some level. Yes, that's it. And do you have the courage and the stillness of presence to just accept, that's kind of okay. I don't regret writing you, but just choose in your wisdom to not go further, to not write another letter. Okay, there's enough letters, It's like, look, man, you're really mistaking what I'm saying, because actually it's not about that. In fact, maybe the letter, which with so much love, allows this person to just belch out, burp up, vomit out some stuff that they couldn't have done in any controlled kind of like way. It's a complete involuntary reaction. And Because sometimes you can only do that with people that on some level you love. You know? I think it's love that encourages us to open up more. Many times people come into a place or where they feel some love, they feel it may not be so straightforward. It might kind of feel like, wow, why is everybody here so quiet? You know? And then the mind starts to do its whole voodoo number, like, they're all watching you, mate, you know? They're going to have you for dinner tonight or whatever. And, you know, it can do all these kind of things. And you somehow find that space inside you which is still and unaffected and is not a part of this world, and curl up into a fetus and keep quiet there. It's a beautiful place. Sometimes when life squeezes you so tight, there's no room left, you know, that you're so tight in that space, and then somehow you fall through into some space. It is very, very good, and no problem is a problem. Your mind is not able to conceptualize a problem. You're just so filled out every cell with love and space. This is very beautiful. You always have an option. We always have an option. The thing is that we always rule out the most powerful option, which is to shut up and keep quiet. Because man, you have to be in gear. But actually there's another option, like be nothing. You're not going anywhere. But to be able to do this, there has to be a bit of understanding inside, which gives you the space to just drop inside yourself. And remember that you're not moving this world. Not even this body.
Lléname con tu presencia, lléname con tu poder, lléname con tu verdad. Espíritu de Dios, Espíritu de Dios.